Who are you when no one is watching? Insights from Buddhism. Chapter 1. Is there a permanent you? Have you ever noticed how different you can be in different situations? At work, you might be responsible and composed. Around friends, you might be relaxed and humorous. When alone, your thoughts may wander in directions you wouldn't express to anyone else. So, which one is the real you? If you could take away all these roles, all these changing moods and responses, would there be a core you left behind? Or is the self just something that shifts depending on the moment? Psychologists have long studied this question. Carl Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we wear to fit into society. We adjust our behavior based on who we are with, just as an actor changes costumes for different scenes. Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist philosopher, believed that we are constantly reinventing ourselves, not bound by any fixed essence. According to Buddhism, the self is not an unchanging identity, but a process, something shaped by causes, conditions, and experiences, never staying the same from one moment to the next. To understand this, let's look deeper into what we call the self. In Buddhism, the self is not a single entity, but a combination of 5 constantly changing elements, known as the 5 aggregates, skandhas. First is form, rupa, the physical body, which ages, changes, and is never exactly the same from day to day. Then comes sensation, vedana, the feelings of pleasure, pain, or neutrality that arise in response to the world. Next is perception, sanya, the way we recognize and categorize experiences. Then we have mental formations, sankhara, the thoughts, emotions, and intentions that guide our actions. Lastly, there is consciousness, vijnana, the awareness that perceives all these changing experiences. At first glance, these 5 seem to create a complete person, but none of them remain constant. Your body grows and changes. Your emotions shift. Your thoughts evolve. Your awareness is never fixed. If every part of you is always changing, how can there be a permanent self behind it all? The Buddha said that when we hold on tightly to the idea of a permanent me, we suffer. This is because we're fighting against the truth that everything changes. Western philosophy has often approached the self differently. René Descartes famously declared, "I think, therefore I am." He believed that the act of thinking was proof that a stable self existed, an unchanging soul or mind separate from the body. But the Buddha saw things differently. He explained that thoughts arise and pass away on their own. There is no thinker behind them, just the process of thinking happening. In this view, the sense of a stable I is an illusion created by memory and habit. But why do we feel as if there is a continuous self? One reason is language. We say I as if it refers to a solid, unchanging thing. But just because we use a word does not mean it represents a real, fixed entity. Another reason is memory. Because we remember past experiences, we assume that the same person who had those experiences must still exist unchanged. But consider a candle that burns throughout the night. In the morning, is it still the same candle? The wax has melted, the flame has flickered and shifted, yet we continue to call it by the same name. Science provides further insight. Every cell in your body is replaced over time. The person you were 10 years ago had a completely different set of physical materials making up their body. Even your brain changes. Neural pathways shift. Memories fade. New ones form. If every part of you has changed, are you still the same person? Buddhism teaches that our suffering comes from resisting this truth. We cling to a fixed idea of self, fearing change, loss, and uncertainty. But what if we let go of that attachment? Instead of seeing the self as a rigid, unchanging thing, we can recognize it as a fluid process, always unfolding, always new. Instead of fearing change, we can embrace it. Because if there is no fixed self to protect, there is also no fixed self to suffer. When no one is watching, when you take away all the roles and identities, what's left? Maybe, if you look closely, you won't find a solid answer, but a deeper kind of freedom. The freedom that comes from realizing that the self isn't something you have to defend or define. It's simply something that arises and passes, moment by moment, like a breath, like a wave, like a reflection in a mirror. It's not a thing to be found, but a way of being. Chapter 2. Who is looking through your eyes? If there is no fixed self, then who is experiencing life? Who is seeing, thinking, and feeling right now? This question has puzzled philosophers, neuroscientists, and spiritual seekers alike. The Buddha's answer is both profound and liberating. There is no solid I behind your experiences, only experiencing itself. But what does that really mean? The sense of being a distinct me feels undeniable. Close your eyes for a moment. Even in total silence, there is an awareness that remains. It feels like there is something behind your eyes, watching, observing, taking in the world. This sense of an internal observer is so strong that many assume it must be proof of a soul, a permanent self that exists separate from the body. But is it? Modern neuroscience has searched for a single place in the brain where this watcher resides. Yet no single location has been found. Thoughts arise from different areas of the brain. Emotions are processed in multiple regions, and memory is stored across different neural networks. The brain is not a fixed control center with a tiny person inside operating it. It is a dynamic, ever-changing process. The I that feels like an observer is simply another experience arising within this process. In Buddhism, this illusion is called the false view of self. The thinking mind mistakenly believes that because there is awareness, there must be someone doing the awareness. But awareness is just there, unfolding on its own. No one's controlling it. No one owns it. It's like the light in a room. The light doesn't belong to any particular object. It simply illuminates everything. Imagine sitting by a river, watching the water flow. Thoughts and sensations pass through your mind, just like that river, constantly moving, changing, and dissolving. But where is the you in all of this? Are you the water, the observer sitting by the river, or both? The truth is, the separation between observer and observed is an illusion. In deep meditation, many people find that the feeling of a separate watcher disappears. There's just seeing, hearing, feeling, all happening by themselves. This idea is challenging because it goes against how we normally experience life. We feel like we are inside our bodies, looking out at the world. But this is just a trick of perception. Vision plays a huge role in this illusion. Since our eyes are positioned in front, we feel like we exist somewhere behind them, controlling the body. But this is just perspective, not reality. Imagine wearing a virtual reality headset. When you move your head, the world shifts accordingly, making it feel as if you are truly inside the digital space. But of course, you are not. You are just experiencing an illusion of presence. In the same way, the feeling of a solid self inside your head is just an illusion generated by the brain. Buddhism offers an alternative way of seeing this. Rather than assuming there is a separate I controlling life, we can recognize that life is just happening, without a fixed owner. The mind, the body, and all experiences arise and pass away on their own. Consciousness is not a thing but a process, much like a mirror reflecting images. The mirror does not own the reflections. It simply allows them to appear and disappear. In the same way, awareness does not belong to anyone. It is simply there, witnessing the flow of existence without attachment. But if there is no fixed self, does that mean life is meaningless? Not at all. In fact, it means quite the opposite. Realizing that the self is an illusion brings an incredible sense of freedom. You are not trapped by your past, not confined to a rigid identity, not burdened by the need to constantly defend a fragile sense of self. Life becomes fluid, open, and ever-changing, just as it has always been. The need to struggle, to prove, to hold on to an image of who you are, begins to fade. And in that fading, a profound peace arises. So the next time you ask yourself, "Who am I?" pause. Instead of searching for an answer in your thoughts, simply notice the awareness in which the question arises. That awareness doesn't belong to anyone. It's not inside your head or outside of it. It's simply here. And in that recognition, you might find something more profound than an identity. You might find freedom itself. Or maybe you might just find what? Chapter 3. Are you truly separate from everything else? If the self isn't a fixed entity, then what about the boundaries between ourselves and the world? Why do we feel so separate from everything around us? I've often felt this too, this sense of being separate, alone, even when surrounded by people. We say I to distinguish ourselves from others. We see our body as a distinct unit, and we feel like our thoughts belong to us alone. But is this feeling of separation real? Or is it just another trick of the mind? Take a breath. The air that just entered your lungs was, moments ago, part of the environment. It circulated through trees, maybe passed through other living beings, and now it's inside you. In a few seconds, it will leave your body and merge back into the world. So, where exactly does you end and the world begin? Your body is constantly exchanging atoms with everything around you. Every bite of food, every sip of water, every breath keeps you connected in ways we rarely think about. Science confirms this interconnection. The cells in your body aren't the same ones you had years ago. Your skin regenerates, your bones rebuild, even the neurons in your brain are constantly renewing themselves. The body you have today isn't the same one you had as a child. This continuous transformation shows that the boundary we imagine between self and other isn't as solid as we think. Buddhism has been pointing to this illusion of separateness for centuries. The Buddha taught that everything arises due to causes and conditions, Nothing exists independently. This is called interdependent origination, the idea that everything is interconnected. Just like a wave isn't separate from the ocean, we aren't separate from the universe. The self isn't an isolated island, but part of an ever-moving, ever-changing flow of existence. But if we're not truly separate, why do we feel this way? Well, the mind naturally sorts experiences into me and not me. This is likely linked to our survival instinct. We need to distinguish ourselves from potential threats. From a young age, we're taught to identify with a name, a body, a set of memories. This sense of ownership creates a kind of psychological wall that makes us feel distinct. But when we look closely, we see that all the things we call mine, my clothes, my house, my ideas, even my body, are actually borrowed from the world. The body is built from food, thoughts are shaped by experience, and even emotions are influenced by the people around us. There's no clear dividing line between me and everything else. Some people worry that if they let go of the idea of a separate me, life will lose its meaning. But in truth, it's the opposite. Understanding our deep connection to all things dissolves the illusion of loneliness and struggle. I remember once, walking in the forest, I suddenly felt this overwhelming sense of connection to everything around me. The trees, the birds, the air. It was like the boundaries of me just dissolved, and I felt a sense of peace I'd never experienced before. When we stop clinging to a rigid sense of identity, we become more open, more compassionate. There's no need to struggle to protect a self that's always in flux. Instead, we can flow with life, embracing each moment as it comes. The self, like a rainbow, appears real from a distance. But when you get closer, you see it's just light and water, an appearance, not a solid thing. In the same way, the idea of a separate I is just a construction of the mind. And when that illusion fades, what remains is not emptiness, but a sense of boundless connection. It's like being a drop of water that realizes it's part of the ocean, not separate, not alone, but part of something vast and beautiful. Chapter 4: The Ultimate Answer. Who are you? The search for a true, unchanging self is like chasing a mirage. The harder you try to grasp it, the more it slips away. The Buddha taught that asking, "Who am I?" isn't meant to give you a fixed answer. It's a doorway to a deeper understanding. It's like a Zen koan, a question that can't be solved with logic. The self isn't an object you can find, but a process to witness. And what does that mean, a process to witness? It means paying attention to the ever-changing flow of experience without trying to hold on to anything. I used to do this all the time. Define myself by my achievements, my failures, my past relationships. We often define ourselves by our past, but the past is just memory, an echo of things that no longer exist. We project ourselves into the future, but the future is just imagination, a story we create based on hopes and fears. But what's left if we let go of both past and future? What exists beyond the stories we tell ourselves about who we are? The truth is, the only thing that ever exists is this moment. And within this moment, the self is fluid, undefined, and free from the weight of a fixed identity. The mind, shaped by years of habit, clings to continuity. It wants to create a solid story, holding on to names, roles, and experiences as if they were solid things. I am this, it insists. I was that. I will be this. But these are just thoughts, coming and going like waves on the ocean. If you look beyond these mental formations, what's left? Not a solid entity, not an owner of experience, but awareness itself. Vast, open, and unattached. This awareness is different from consciousness. Consciousness is one of the 5 aggregates, the part that experiences. Awareness is the space in which all experience happens. This is why the Buddha didn't give a straight answer to, "Who am I?" Any answer would just create another concept, another illusion to hold on to. Instead, he encouraged direct experience, watching the self arise and dissolve in each moment. When you observe with clarity, you start to see that self isn't a thing, but an activity, a stream of ever-changing sensations, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. The Buddha also warned about falling into extremes when thinking about the self. One extreme is eternalism, believing there's a fixed, unchanging soul that lives forever. The other is nihilism, thinking nothing exists at all, that life is meaningless. The middle way avoids both traps. The self isn't a permanent entity, but it's not a complete void either. It's a dynamic dance of causes and conditions. Understanding this balance frees us from rigid identities and destructive doubt. Realizing this isn't something you just think about. It's a practice. It's not about reaching a final answer, but about letting go of the need for one. When you stop grasping for a fixed self, you stop fearing change. You stop resisting the fact that everything is impermanent. And in that surrender, there's a profound freedom. Freedom from attachment, from suffering, from the illusion of being separate. You're not a static thing moving through time. You are the present moment unfolding, boundless and always new. You are life itself, expressing itself in this unique and ever-changing way.